speaking of theater, I just hesitate even to ask this, but because it just opens up all this stuff I don't want to deal with. But you just interviewed Nick Fuentes.
I did.
Or had a conversation with him. What did you think of that? What do you think of him?
I mean, I can tell you my experience was entirely fraudulent with him. I never interview people as a gotcha interview. It's always just that he was making the rounds. He's been around for a while, and kind of his story, when I learned it, because he was banned from everywhere, so I didn't actually know what the backstory was with Nick Fuentes, but then I learned it when he was allowed back on X, and Jeremy Boring, who was then the CEO of Daily Wire, did this X live with him. And
Jeremy Boring did an event with Nick Fuentes?
It was weird. Everything was weird about what happened, but it happened. And Nick told his story, and I was listening in, and said essentially that he was canceled because he started asking questions about Israel. He was 18 years old, and he alleged that it was, very much the fault of the Daily Wire or whatever he said. And I found it to be very interesting. And I was like, oh, I actually didn't know this was the backstory. Like, maybe this really is a person who had, just ahead of everybody else, was questioning Israel and had like a bad hand given to him. So I had him on the show, welcomed him into my home, and he was very nice. We told him, we're going to cut a controversial trailer. We're going to show you like these clips of you talking trash about me, and you can talk about whatever you want for as long as you want. Ask any questions you want to ask. It went great. He left. He said, thanks. We can now be friends. And I am not kidding. We published this 11 days later, and I don't even know how to, he just starts screaming, calling me an effing bitch, who set him up. We didn't edit a single thing. Those 11 days, like 2 weeks before we even published the interview, we told him if there's anything that he wanted us to insert. Like, nobody does that if you go on their show.
Yes.
And I genuinely don't know what triggered him, other than me at the very end asking him about or talking to him about family. And it was just the rage that was coming out of him was just weird. And I don't know why he did that. I don't know why he did a 180. You had access to me. You could have said anything after. Even if he had said in good faith, I thought I sounded a little weird here, could you cut it out? We probably would have cut it out, because I just don't want people to ever not have a good experience coming on our show.
That.
You know what I'm saying?
And also, you want people, I will speak for myself. When I invite someone on, especially just to hear their views, I want them to be able to express what they actually think.
Right. Exactly.
And you decide what you think, and you decide how to express it. I mean, that's like a basic human right, kind of.
Yeah.
And so I'm not here to trip you up into saying something you don't mean. I want to hear what you do mean.
Yeah.
So Candace Owens actually just did an interview with Tucker Carlson on a podcast. And what I found very interesting about this podcast, it just took place yesterday, is their discussion on Nick Fuentes. So Nick Fuentes has been going super viral. He's been going viral for a while on platforms like X. He's banned everywhere else. He did an interview with Candace, and I did a video on it recently as well, like a week ago. And I guess what I found very interesting about it is just their thoughts on who Nick Fuentes actually is as a person. I know there are a lot of his fans out there on the internet and on YouTube. I don't know. He always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, sure, I agree with many of his opinions on Israel, but I do think some of his opinions for sure go far. And so this kind of just doubled down on what thoughts I had of him. He seems like he's pretty immature in his beliefs. And yeah, I think it was a very interesting conversation. I want all of you to listen to this if you like Nick Fuentes or if you've heard of him. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. Now let's continue.
Exactly. And he told a story. He did all of that. And apparently then, and I don't know if it was driven by insecurity. He didn't know how his followers would take the interview, but he just did a complete 180. Lied to his audience, pretended that he was surprised it was behind a paywall. We spoke about him and how we were going to release it. He said, great. I mean, it's a total 180 flip. So I can now say that I didn't listen to other people say that Nick was a bad person. I didn't care about what happened when he was 18, 19, 20, 26. I sat across from a person, had a conversation with him. He behaved one way in person and then put on a show for the internet. So I actually can say my experience with Nick Fuentes is that he's a terrible person and a terrible human being, because why would you do that? There's no reason to do that.
I agree.
You could have come back onto the show. You could have had beginning of us discussing various topics. I think in many ways, whatever happened to him was when he was 18 may have stunted his growth. Meaning that he now
oh, that's dirty. That's a backhanded. Ooh.
Is responding to the internet, which is filled with people that don't even use their real names. Right? So really, truly, the irony of it all is you could just be like the IDF soldiers, just pretending to be his supporters, just getting him to say whatever you want because he's going to do whatever you say. But it was strange. It was totally strange. It made no sense.
Does he have a family or a normal life?
I asked him about that. He said, yeah, it comes from a 2-parent household. That's what he told me.
No. Does he have his own family? Does he?
No, he's not married. And I just offered to him, I was like, no, I think these are things that you learn when you're married. And he just was vicious about it. And,
About
women
what?
don't tell me what to do or whatever it was. And it was very performative. Like I said the exact same thing to Andrew Tate months earlier. I had him and I said, you should get married. Here's why. And of course, Andrew Tate did not react like that. He told me what his hangups were about marriage. It was just a part of two people communicating on a show. But for whatever reason, like he saw this as like an attack, even though.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was weird. It was totally
It's a
weird.
tender spot. Well, okay. Has it occurred to you that, and I just want to say, I haven't watched a lot of Nick Fuentes in my life at all. But what I've seen, the guy's very talented. Like just as a, well, let me just say this, as someone who's talked to cameras his whole life, it is very hard to sit and just like riff for 20 minutes. And I think it's an amazing skill, and he has that skill. But I also have.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Tucker Carlson on that. Someone being on YouTube now at this point, it's not easy to just go on a riff and just talk to a camera for 15, 20 minutes and still keep the audience engaged. It's not easy at all. It was very awkward talking to the camera when I first started YouTube. And yeah, I mean, some people are just naturally talented and gifted with that.
Noticed that his targets are all people who are sincere, non-crazy, non-hateful opponents of neocon politics.
So this moment, I really want all of you guys to pay attention to where Tucker Carlson goes from here. Now, Tucker Carlson, we all know, used to be this Islamic, oh my God, he used to be a Muslim hater, Islamophobic guy, like when September 11th happened. I have seen tremendous growth in Tucker Carlson, and in a way, I actually respect him now for all the interviews he's doing against Israel and for the people of Gaza and Palestinians. But anyways, Tucker Carlson's smart. Look at what he gets at and what he believes Nick Fuentes is. It's very interesting.
Right.
So you have to kind of wonder about that. So Nick Fuentes is like, oh, I don't like the neocons. But then his targets are J.D. Vance, Joe Kent. He got involved in Joe Kent's campaign with a super. Oh, yes. You, me. And it's like, what is that?
Dave Smith.
Dave
and I asked him about that because that's a question that I had. So I did the right thing by asking him to his face. What's up with this? Like, why do you attack Dave Smith? You say that like your biggest critique is that America's being controlled by Israel. Then you have Dave Smith, who has been such a sound voice. And by the way, opposite experience with Dave Smith. Have my podcast. He's a fantastic human being.
I judge Dave people. Smith is one of the nicest people
Fantastic
ever.
Human.
Yes.
And so I judge people according to my experiences with them. And so Nick is being judged according to my experience with him.
But like, what is this?
I don't get
Where
it.
does
I don't
the funding come from? I probably shouldn't even say this, but the only reason I know who he is because someone sent me a video a few years ago of him attacking me. And I was like, so I'm looking at this. And I'm like, well, first of all, this kid's really talented, like legit. And I can assess that just having done the job for so long. So I was like, wow, lots of talent, native talent. And he's attacking my dad as a CIA, his dad's in the CIA or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's no, untrue. Then my father dies and I learn actually, was involved in that world. Completely shocked by it. So no one has to believe me, but that's just a fact.
Right.
This was in March of this year. And I'm like, well, how the hell would this child from Chicago, my dad was 84 when he passed. Like, who does this guy know who my dad is? And like, he's in intelligence. How would he know that? And
so that was his critique of you because I didn't see it.
Okay, so Candace just kind of derailed the conversation here. I wish Tucker Carlson went a little bit deeper here, but think about how crazy that is. Nick Fuentes is a kid from Chicago, and he knows that Tucker Carlson's dad was a CIA agent or an asset, or he was involved with the CIA. And Tucker Carlson, who has, he speaks about his dad a lot. I assume they had a decent relationship. He's been in the news world for decades. He receives stories all the time. I mean, he's on the internet. He's never heard or never knew that his father was in the CIA himself until he heard it from a little kid. And it's crazy. Like, how does this little kid know, right? How did he get this information? That is a little bit strange. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel, by the way. It helps get these videos out to a larger audience. We change more minds. And yeah, let's continue.
Yeah, someone just sent me this video and was like, you can't believe anything Carlson says because his father was in the CIA and he's a CIA working on behalf of the CIA. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, and I actually feel emotional in my anger towards CIA. And I think that comes out on the air quite regularly.
Right.
And so the idea that I'm working for the CIA, is like deranged.
Well, if it helps, he said I'm funded by Russia now. Since the interview, he then did a thing and said I was funded by Russia.
But you would be
so okay.
a lot more likely to take Russian money than I would be to work for the CIA, because you would never take Russian money, and you're not Russian. But I mean, I really hate the CIA, and I mean,
Right.
I mean, that's like very offensive to me. So why would you?
It's like personal for you.
Well, a little bit.
Yeah.
And anyway, like, who is this kid exactly?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just an accident that the guy exclusively goes after people who are in roughly the same. And then he gets up there and he's like, making Holocaust jokes. And it's like, is it possible that this is like David Duke? And David Duke, every time I had a new show, David Duke would endorse my show. I don't know, who the hell is David Duke? Well, David Duke is.
So for those that don't know who David Duke is, he was pretty big, especially when I think Donald Trump was getting elected the first time. I think that's when I started becoming aware of him. So David Duke I think he was like the leader of the KKK, super racist organization towards, African Americans. So he was a leader of it, and he would endorse people like Donald Trump and, just be like, you don't want to be endorsed by this guy. This guy is a huge racist. And like, if he endorses you, it says a lot about your party. So basically, Tucker Carlson would be like, back in his show, David Duke would endorse him. And, you don't want that endorsement, right? So he's basically comparing Nick Fuentes to a David Duke. Very interesting.
It's obviously part of a campaign to discredit people on the right, obviously.
Mm.
And I think it's very obvious that Nick Fuentes is exactly the same. Doesn't mean everything he says is false. It doesn't mean he's not talented. He's enormously talented. Doesn't mean he's a bad person. I'm not attacking him personally, but he is clearly part of a campaign to discredit non-crazy right voices. That's obvious to me. I've been around a long time. I know it when I see it.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't understand it. We were very kind to him. Like, I truly, like, we almost said, like, we felt maybe he was a bit lonely. We should invite him back for dinner. I mean, that's how good of an experience I had.
Clearly it's
and then it was a 180. So it's either it's being driven from like a little boy insecurity, and he just was so worried that he like just went on the attack because he doesn't know how to have normal relations after being banned everywhere.
Well, I think there's that could
be one element.
The angry gay kid thing going on. Yeah.
Or it's what you're saying, where he does this, he's lying.
He called Nick Fuentes gay. I'm done.
Lying to everybody and pretending that things are one way when it's not. I can say
why is he attacking Joe Kent, who, Joe Kent worked as a CIA contractor, paramilitary contractor. He was in the U.S. military for years fighting our neocon wars. And his wife was killed in Syria in one of those wars. Joe Kent is the single most sincere critic, and I would say the one with the most credibility in the United States to say this foreign policy is bad. It killed my wife. I was a part of it. Joe Kent is actually someone the CIA doesn't like at all because he understands how it operates. And for Nick Fuentes, who's like some child from Chicago, to go after him specifically, one congressional seat in Washington State.
That is random.
It's not random, though. It's the opposite of random. Joe Kent was number one on the list of people they wanted to knock off, people who believe in our neocon foreign policy. They wanted Joe Kent out because he could stand up and say, I actually know. I've got the receipts. My wife was killed in Syria. You had to take that guy out. And Nick Fuentes, this child, this weird little gay kid in his basement in Chicago.
Yeah, he's calling him gay. I'm so done. I'm with the sneak diss, and I love it, Tucker. I love it.
Chicago is participating in a super PAC to bump off Joe Kent. Like, I've been around this my whole life. I know what that is. It's just an organized effort.
Yeah.
And he also did the thing that David Duke always did, including to me, which is be like, oh, yeah, it's my friend. And everyone's like, oh, Tucker Carlson's been endorsed by David Duke. I've been making like the anti-racist argument my whole life.
Right.
Like, I'm not for David Duke. Do I think David Duke is right when he's against affirmative action? You bet I do. But I'm not for David Duke. But David Duke would try to discredit people by hugging them. And that's exactly what Fuentes did. He goes out there and meet all these people. Show up, hi, I'm Nick Fuentes. Can I get my picture with you? That's a campaign to destroy credible voices on the right. And Fuentes is part of it. And I know I'm inviting endless trouble by saying this because, this is a kid with a lot of spare time, but it's just a fact. And I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
And I you can believe me or not, but I know what I'm talking about.
I can confirm he's dishonest. I mean, so it's like you use that as your, like, I could not determine what his motives were. I said, you know what? I don't have time for this. I gave you a fair chance, gave you a fair shake, and you are a fundamentally dishonest human being. You know, there was no reason to do it. If he had not done that show and screamed and yelled, his followers would have been like, oh, that was an interesting conversation between two people who agreed some, disagreed some, and like that was it. It was interesting that he got there. He doesn't want to be, and I can tell you that he doesn't want to be anywhere but where he is. He doesn't want to have normal relations. And it did sort of feel, and I said that to him, that he's like responding to orders somewhere, because why are you attacking me?
Well,
why are you attacking Dave Smith? What is the issue with Dave Smith? And he couldn't answer the question.
Exactly.
He couldn't answer the question. He was just like, well,
the fakest thing I've ever seen.
And I'm like, why do you hate Dave Smith over Joe Rogan? And it's like, well, Dave Smith is this kind of a Jew. And I'm like, okay, I don't either. You really are this immature and you haven't gotten further in your ideas, or you're just attacking people and making people think that these attacks are legitimate when they're really not. And we were so kind to him that I was just like, okay.
He's attacking Dave Smith because Dave Smith is effective and credible.
He's very effective.
Because he's smart. He's a decent person. There's no hate on Dave Smith. And you would smell it if there was and there isn't. And he has credibility and he has knowledge. And he's a marvelous debater. And once again, a really good person. So you have to take out Dave Smith. You have to take out Joe Kent. Those are the good people. You have to take out J.D. Vance. He was against J.D. Vance. So if you're against like more pointless wars on behalf of foreign powers, like you're probably not going to be attacking J.D. Vance. And Vance was exactly the person he was attacking. So and the sad thing is, and I know that no one who watches him will believe me because they're desperate, because they are the victims of a system that hates him. It's young white men who've been totally cut out of our economy, attacked mercilessly, given, narcotics, just go die. I mean, they really are the victims and they're desperate and no one speaks for them. So they go to Fuentes because he's like incredibly articulate and they think he's our leader. But in one of the saddest ironies of all, like he's acting against your interests, actually. It's,
yeah.
It's